What it do, flight crew? FTC. Flight team stand up! FTC the strongest is finally August. We got some so fresh, so clean educationalists. I know you guys are back in school, but let it be known that I'm your best substitute teacher. It sucks that you guys got 7 to 8 months of this, but look, man. As usual, man, school's back in session. Hide your Apple iPhones, your Nanos, your Androids, your Pagers, your Wagers, your LimeWires. If any administrator watch it, because guess what? They're going ham on taking the phones this year, especially holiday break is coming up soon. Holidays or whatever in general is coming up soon. They might just auction it off. So, that being said, what if there were one non-Nonillion people on Earth? I've never heard of that number before. Is that like bigger than like a billion or a trillion? We don't find out. It sounds like a lot. Let's check it out.
There are a huge number of apocalypse scenarios that people can arrange with their own hands. But there is one happening unnoticed, and right now, overpopulation, lack of resources, territory, constant illness, unimaginable heat, violent conflicts, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Could overpopulation turn the Earth into a black hole? How realistic is such a forecast? How many years will humanity need to create a real catastrophe? Would we be able to survive if there were 1 nonillion people on the planet?
Nonillion?
Nonillion? In detail in just 10 minutes.
How many people is that?
A nonillion is a huge number that's difficult even to imagine.
Really?
10 to the 30th power. The sun weighs 2 nonillion kilograms. The lifespan of a proton is at least 1 nonillion years. There are 10 nonillion individual viruses on our planet, and this is enough to spread one virus to every star in the universe. Moreover, several times. The population of the Earth is growing gradually, but let's say that there was some kind of failure in the logic of the world, and suddenly there were not just 8 billion of us, but rather 1 nonillion people. The air would become polluted at an alarming rate. This would lead to a spike in respiratory illness and asthma. The International Agency for Research on Cancer also believes that such contamination contributes to the development of cancer. High population density will allow any infection to spread at an awful rate. People will have much less personal space, leading to much higher risks of contracting deadly diseases such as meningitis, typhoid, cholera, and others. The world will be constantly in a state of pandemic, and if one fades, another will immediately arise. The more carbon dioxide in the environment, the more likely major natural disasters such as hurricanes are. A 2009 study published in Global Environmental Change analyzed the impact on the environment of having children. It turned out that today, every additional child adds about 9,500 tons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And if the number of children were to become 1 nonillion, the vast majority of people would starve because the planet's resources are simply not sufficient for such a large number of consumers.
How do you write nonillion?
Other marine life that might meet the need for food would be eaten up. The same fate would befall wild and domestic animals. An attempt to increase the number of livestock would lead to overgrazing, overconsumption of plants. This, in turn, will cause soil degradation and desertification. A population increase would endanger the world's oceans, not to mention the problems that would affect the world's supply of drinking water. Today, humanity is faced with a lack of it. According to the WWF, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, more than 1 billion people currently have no access to water. If the world population grew to 1 nonillion, this number would increase by a factor of sextillion. And don't forget about wars. The fewer the resources and the higher the population density, the greater the tensions between countries and communities. Tensions that could lead to violent, armed conflicts. But these aren't really the main problems. It's unlikely that every one of these 1 nonillion people on Earth will have to face all these problems. We simply don't have enough space on the planet. The land looks massive. Large areas are still unoccupied. But even if you use every inch of dry land, it won't help. For every square meter of land, there will be almost 7 to 10 to the 15th power of people. Let's say they all have an average height of 165 centimeters. If you stack these people on top of each other, then such a pyramid would reach far beyond the Earth's atmosphere into open space. Living in such tight quarters would not only be difficult, but absolutely unrealistic. There's neither enough space nor air. Anyone in such a situation is likely to face a quick but painful death. What if you use the entire surface of the Earth? Most of our planet is covered in water, and this is critical for many reasons. But in a case that the population has grown dramatically, will drainage of water bodies help? The entire surface area of the Earth is approximately 510 million.
But you know what I noticed? Like the Earth literally is like, at some points of it is upside down and the water still stays within the Earth, bro. Like, do you notice that like the water is literally upside down? It's like the Earth is literally like a big water ball.
If you use it in its entirety, there will be about 2 people for every square meter, or rather 2 by 10 to the 15th power of a
2 by 10 to the 15th?
quadrillion.
Bro, if you gave me that, I'll fail it, bro.
People on Earth,
holy shit,
the planet would change forever. It would simply become a huge ball covered with people by more than 1 trillion layers. For such a large number of people to feel even a little comfortable, it would require more than just our planet. The current population density of the Earth is 50 people per square kilometer. This includes the entire continental and island territories, even Antarctica. If we adhere to such a plan, then for the comfortable settlement of 1 nonillion people, it will take approximately 20 octillion square kilometers to obtain such a vast territory. One would have to make 134 quintillion clones of the Earth. At the very beginning of the video, I mentioned a black hole, and this is no coincidence. 1 nonillion people will add at least 62 nonillion kilograms to our planet. This is more than the mass of the Earth itself, and even more than the mass of the Sun. The planet would become very heavy and very dense. But to turn it into a black hole, you first need to become a supernova. Even such an overpopulated Earth will not have enough capacity and temperature for this. But is overpopulation really worth worrying about? Many scientists believe that the Earth's maximum capacity is between 9 and 10 billion people. This point of view is shared by biologist Edward Wilson. As pointed out by Wilson in his book, The Future of Life, the limitations of the biosphere are unchangeable. Aside from fresh water, there are indeed problems with the amount of food the Earth can produce. Even if 100% of the grain is consumed, and absolutely all people become vegetarians, the planet will only be able to feed 10 billion people. At the same time, a biologist, Joel Cohen from Columbia University, admitted that no one knows when or at what level peak population will be reached. As of August 6, 2020, the world's population is estimated at 7.8 billion people. The United Nations expects that by the year 2050, Earth's population will reach 9.8 billion people.
Damn.
In the year 2100, the figures will exceed 11 billion. This could be a real disaster. The disadvantages of overpopulation.
There goes people saying the world's gonna end now and shit in 2050.
The most populous cities in the world are Tokyo, Delhi, Shanghai, Mumbai, and Sao Paulo. The
that's
population
tight.
of each of them exceeds
I'm gonna visit all those
20
places.
million people and continues to grow. And along with this comes growing air pollution, the amount of garbage, poverty. Perhaps over time, there will be more and more cities with high populations. According to the UN, 250 babies are born every minute, and technology is helping people live longer. To cope with overpopulation, analysts suggest improving the quality of education and educating people about the environmental and financial costs associated with large families. Will it help? We'll find out in a couple of decades. Most likely, humanity will never be able to reach the 1 nonillion mark. However, this is just my guess. Who knows what the future of our descendants will be like far beyond planet Earth. If you like the video,
That's what you mean. Coming up with a